mics are very sensitive now.
Good evening. Welcome, commissioners, Mr. Howalt, our city manager, city staff. We'd like to welcome everyone that's joining us virtually. And we will begin tonight's meeting with a prayer led by Commissioner Elliott. Thank you for offering to do that, sir. And after he has prayed, we will honor our flags.
Heavenly Father, thank you so much for loving us so much that you give us a Savior. And thank you, Father. We know that you're in control, although we've had some really tough times and trying times. And 2020 has been extremely difficult. I think it'll get better, and we just pray that it will, Father. As we make decisions tonight, I pray that the decisions we make would be fair and just, and we would keep everything in that is decisions made would be for the betterment of the city of Clovis and our precious residents, and just be with our city staff, our fire and first responders, police, all them. Keep them safe, Lord. Thank you, Father, for loving us. Thank you for blessing us. And I do pray for our nation, Lord. I lift it up to you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Join me in honoring our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of Mexico, to see a symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. This meeting of the Clovis City Commission is called to order. Ms. Reyes, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Levitt?
Here.
Commissioner Madrid?
Here.
Commissioner Casals?
Here.
Commissioner Elliott?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Bryant?
Here.
Commissioner Garza?
Here.
Commissioner Rowley?
Here.
Mayor Morris?
Here, thank you. Commissioners, next is approval of the agenda. At this point, you've had the opportunity to review the agenda. Are there any changes or removals that you would recommend?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I second that.
Actually, I know that we have two items. I guess I could mention that. We have two items under proclamations, awards, and presentations. They're not action items, but I just wanted to let you know we are adding an item there to the agenda. We have a motion to approve from Mayor Pro Tem Bryant and second from Commissioner Garza. Could we please have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Madrid?
Yes.
Commissioner Casals?
Yes.
Commissioner Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bryant?
Yes.
Commissioner Garza?
Yes.
Commissioner Rowley?
Yes.
Commissioner Levitt?
Yes.
By a vote of 7-0, the motion is carried and the agenda has been approved. Next is approval of minutes. Commissioners, you had in your packet the minutes from the Thursday, January 21st, 2021 meeting. Did you have any changes or corrections to recommend there?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Casals and second from Commissioner Lovett. Could we please have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Casals?
Yes.
Commissioner Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bryant?
Yes.
Commissioner Garza?
Yes.
Commissioner Rowley?
Yes.
Commissioner Levitt?
Yes.
Commissioner Madrid?
Abstain.
By a vote of 6 in favor, 1 abstention, the motion is carried and the minutes from the January 21st meeting have been approved. Next is recognition of visitors. Commissioners, you're well aware, but for the viewing public, our meeting is not open to folks to join us in person. However, we have several who have joined us virtually this evening. I'd like to welcome each of you. We look forward to hearing from you when we reach the point in the agenda that you're here to speak with us about. And additionally, we do encourage public comment during receipts of petitions and communications. So I would want to invite anyone in the viewing public to call 575-763-9200, and you can be added to the meeting this evening and present anything you like before the commission during communications. Next, we have proclamations of awards and presentations. First item there this evening is presentation of proclamation proclaiming February 2021 as 211 month. And I believe we have Aaron Birch from United Way joining us virtually this evening. And it's great to see you there, Aaron. And I would give you the floor to talk to us about 211 and this proclamation.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Erin Birch, Executive Director for United Way of Eastern New Mexico. Thank you, Mayor Morris and City Commissioners, for helping us celebrate 211 month and raising awareness for 211. 211 is an easy to remember phone number for human service referral. 211 is nationwide, and 96% of the country can reach a call center when they dial 211. Here in our area, United Way of Eastern New Mexico answers 211 and helps callers connect with local services to overcome life's challenges and improve their lives. Our callers receive help from our 211 associates, Virginia McReynolds, who is on tonight, and Iris Corona, our bilingual associate, who is on tonight. 2020 was a record-breaking year for our 211 because in addition to answering 2,333 calls, we received over $100,000 in COVID relief grants and donations. And those grants and donations allowed us to help over 700 families, local families with rent and utility expenses, stopping eviction and power shutoff. Our goal is to answer more calls each year and help more people connect to the assistance that they need. When times are tough, finding the places that can help can be a challenge. We want everyone experiencing difficulties to know that by calling 211, they will reduce their frustration and connect faster with local resources. Thank you for helping us spread the word about this important service and for honoring 211 today.
Thank you.
And I would stand for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Birch. We appreciate the opportunity to help you in bringing attention to 211 and the wonderful work that you do through United Way. We really appreciate the wonderful asset and the amazing work that you do in our community. Commissioners, any comments or questions for Ms. Birch?
Just want to say thank you for all the work that you guys do over there at United Way. It's very good to be able to help people, and we appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner Garza.
All right, Commissioners, I would like to share the proclamation that we have prepared. Whereas the United Way of Eastern New Mexico 211 program is free, confidential referral and information helpline that connects people of all ages to essential health and human services they need. And whereas 2021 is the 14th year anniversary of the 211 program in Curry and Roosevelt counties. And whereas United Way of Eastern New Mexico has helped over 2,300 callers last year who were directed to community resources when they were in need. Whereas 2,343 local families last year were assisted in meeting their personal challenges on their journeys to stability, self-sufficiency, and wholeness. Whereas hundreds of local callers to 211 were directed to resources such as food pantries, help with utilities or transportation, and whereas dozens of local callers to 211 were referred to organizations such as domestic violence shelters, suicide prevention centers, and/or rape counseling. And whereas hundreds of local callers to 211 connected with community groups that distribute items such as clothing, household goods, and/or furniture. And whereas, due to the Game Changer program and COVID-19 relief grants, 211 has been able to provide direct assistance to 703 families in 2020, allowing them to avoid eviction, power shutoff, remaining safe in their homes, allowing them to obtain birth certificates and identification needed to apply for housing, employment, and schooling, and allowing them to overcome significant livability crises. And whereas, to celebrate this important free service in our community, United Way of Eastern New Mexico is conducting awareness activities throughout February. Now, therefore, I, Mike Morris, Mayor of the City of Clovis, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim February 2021 as 211 month in the City of Clovis and congratulate United Way of Eastern New Mexico in their work in providing the 211 service to our area for the past 13 years. We encourage residents to utilize 211 and access needed services. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Birch. We appreciate you. Commissioners, next this evening we have a second proclamation. This one is a proclamation proclaiming February 11th as Hearts for Healthcare Workers Day. And I believe Kim Tipton has joined our meeting this evening to share with us about that. Kim, how are you? And you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Morris and Commissioners. In 1 week, on Thursday, February 11th, the community is invited to unite in celebration and appreciation of local healthcare heroes by participating in Hearts for Healthcare Workers, which is a driving parade and ceremony at Plains Regional Medical Center. The community members are encouraged to express their support in any way. Some ideas include making paper hearts with a big gesture and a show of support with a little message on there. You can make a homemade poster sign to display from your vehicle during the parade. Homemade cards are gift. That way we can give them to the nurses and they can read them throughout the day and the night on their shifts. The event is open to the public. However, participants must remain in their vehicles and adhere to the requirements outlined in the state's current public health order. So we just hope all the community will attend, which the parade will begin at 5:30. And drive by, honk your horn, just show our support for our healthcare workers that have been on the front line since day one. And we also want to say thank you to the City of Clovis, Clovis Fire Department, the Clovis Police Department for helping us make this event possible.
Thank you, Ms. Tipton. We appreciate the opportunity to help bring attention to this really wonderful event, which will honor our healthcare workers, and more than happy to do it. Thanks for joining the meeting and sharing with us, and I'll read the proclamation. Whereas, in 2020, an unprecedented pandemic impacted the state of New Mexico, the nation, and the world. In response to COVID-19, on March 11th, 2020, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham declared a state of emergency. To date, in the state of New Mexico, COVID has infected over 175,000 New Mexicans and caused 3,338 COVID-related deaths. Whereas New Mexico's healthcare professionals, including physicians, physician assistants, nurses, pharmacists, home care and residential care providers, EMTs, community and mental health providers, and more, have worked tirelessly, showing outstanding resilience and dedication in the face of challenges set before them. Whereas, as communities across New Mexico continue to combat the COVID-19 pandemic, we look to our frontline healthcare workers to protect the health and welfare of our residents. And whereas, local medical facilities in Clovis and Curry County, including Plains Regional Medical Center, employ thousands of our neighbors, friends, and loved ones. They have often put their own health at risk in serving their community and the patients impacted by COVID-19. And whereas, as this pandemic has greatly impacted our community and nation, it is important to recognize the unwavering commitment of our healthcare providers. And whereas, we are extremely grateful for our healthcare workers and the people who support them throughout Clovis and Curry County as they continue to selflessly care for our area residents. And whereas, in order to show our appreciation, a Hearts for Healthcare Workers event will be held at 6 p.m. Thursday, February 11th at Plains Regional Medical Center to assure our healthcare providers of our support and care for their well-being. The parade of vehicles will circulate around the perimeter of Plains Regional Medical Center and will feature music and remarks from local leaders. The event will be broadcast live on Big 1015. Now therefore, I, Mike Morris, Mayor of the City of Clovis, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim February 11th, 2021 as Hearts for Healthcare Workers Day in the City of Clovis, and urge citizens to unite in both appreciation and celebration for our healthcare heroes. Thanks, Ms. Tipton. Appreciate you joining the meeting and presenting that to us this evening, and we were glad to do the proclamation. We look forward to next Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Commissioners, that brings us to receipts of petitions and communications. And I wonder, do we have anyone who has joined the meeting to provide public comment? And we'll keep a lookout for that, but I did want to ask if Mr. Dan Heerding would share with us about the progress with vaccines and the mass vaccination clinic and whatever he would like related to that. Thank you, Mr. Heerding.
Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, thank you for allowing me to come up here impromptu. So today was day 15th of our COVID vaccine clinic at the Raintree facility. Just some quick numbers. To date, we have done approximately 5,683 vaccinations in our community. So that's quite a number for the 15 days we've been doing that. And without the help of, obviously, Roden Smith Pharmacies and Clovis Family Healthcare, there are providers doing these shots or vaccines. But we've also had Chad and Vicki Lydek that donated the facility to help us do this in a nice, comfortable environment. Plateau Telecommunications got us internet service, both a secure and an open for the public and for our providers. And of course, just the numerous volunteers we have coming in. We couldn't have done it without the United Way's Volunteer Action Center site, where we get the volunteers to sign up, and we can schedule them, or they schedule themselves for when they can work. So that's been really good, and Kennan Air Force Base has really given us a lot of volunteers to help us, because without them this wouldn't have worked. So with that, we are doing the vaccines through the state portal to sign up for it. So the way to do that is to go to the COVID vaccine site for the state of New Mexico, and that's cvvaccine.nmhealth.org. What you can do is create your profile there, and it'll ask you a bunch of questions, medical questions, and things like that. When you're done, it'll shoot you a message, either a text message or an email, and it's got a 7-digit confirmation number. Hang on to that number, please. It helps us later on when you come in for your vaccine. As your group is becoming available for that vaccine, based on your age or whatever medical conditions, you'll get another text saying, hey, go back in, here's an event code, enter this event code, and it will allow you to schedule an appointment based on the available doses. Once you get that, it'll send you messages 7 days out, 3 days out, the day before and the day of, reminding you that you have your vaccine appointment. On the day of your appointment, you go in, you do some medical screening questions, some real simple questions, and we'll get you in. So if you have an issue with that at any point, please come down to the Raintree facility. We will help you. We will get you in. The Clovis IT department has gotten us 6 computers to help with this, and with the volunteers and all of us, we will get you in no matter what. We will work with you. So don't worry about that. We have doses available. Just please be patient with the system. We did have some glitches yesterday and today where it's not letting folks get a event code. We understand that. It is being worked on at the state level. So Hopefully that'll be fixed, but please bear with us. We are getting it going. It is a great facility. We're doing what we can. We're doing usually about 500 to 540 doses a day. So we are really knocking them out in this community in Curry County. I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Appreciate that update on vaccinations in our community, and commissioners, it was impromptu. I asked him to do that right before the meeting, so go easy on him if you have questions for him. But do you have questions for Mr. Harding?
As I was driving over here, I thought about it. I said, maybe we need to have Dan do a presentation. I just want to commend you guys for the work that's been done over there. I was there, I took the shot, I cried like a baby. I'm not going to pull back and say, no, I didn't. No, it was very smooth, very nice. So you guys are doing a really good job. I appreciate what you guys do over there. And I'm ready for my second shot, so we can get this community back and open up and
Yes.
do the things that we need to do for our kids and for everybody else that are being somewhat very depressed about what we have here in Clovis. So let's continue doing what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Mayor,
Yes, Commissioner Levitt.
I've got to say, Dan, I've emailed you personally as well. Been able to see the what's going on over there at Raintree, and you're to be commended. Everyone involved is to be commended. You know, it's just like Clovis, though, to come together and to all work together for the common good, and that's what you see going on over at Raintree. So thanks to the Lydex, thanks to Plateau, thanks to the providers doing the vaccines. It was a well-oiled machine. Could not believe how quickly that things were going, and again, just marvelous. And so thank you.
Thank you. We did have some growing pain glitches. We overcame them, and we're smooth now.
Mayor,
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
again, I think it's all been said, but we appreciate everything you've done, and we thank you. But how long is this going to be available to the public?
As long as we get doses from the state. That is the goal. So we were looking at doing an 8-week cycle. So 4 weeks of initial doses, then everybody that got their initial dose has to come back for their second dose. So it's 4 weeks first dose, 4 weeks second dose. So it's that cycle. As long as our providers can get the doses, we're able to support it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. And I did forget to mention, Clovis Fire Department has been providing a medical standby there for the post-vaccine for the wait period. So without them, we couldn't have done it either.
And also PD, I think they've been there also to provide some support in some way. You don't see them. They're on the side of the building trying to control traffic, making sure that nobody's gets carried away on driving around trying to find a parking spot because it's been pretty busy.
Yep.
I did made a joke about those guys. Say, hey, people inside are talking about you guys, and they said, well, what are they saying? I said, well, the 2 police officers came in. They refused to take their shots because they wimp out. So they didn't like it, so they tried to stop me there. But
I believe Chief Ford's on, and he'll have some
I
other
can
words
say-
for that one.
And that's why I'm saying it. Then one of the things that came up the other day was there is no cost for these vaccinations, right?
So the vaccine is provided at no cost. However, the providers are allowed to charge what they call administrative fee for their time and energy of being there.
Right.
Because it is taking them away from their primary jobs, so they are doing this.
Right,
So
but
there is
it's-
a small fee.
But it's not charged to the individual that wants
No,
to take the
the
vaccine.
individual will be charged nothing.
Okay,
If you
so-
have no insurance, come anyway,
All right,
okay?
and I think
Register.
we need to emphasize that to the public. I think there's a lot of people that are reluctant to come in because they don't have insurance or they don't have funds to
Right.
take the vaccine.
We don't care about their insurance status, about their, let's say, immigration status. We don't care. We want everybody in the community, irregardless, to come in and get the vaccine that would like it.
Right,
We
thank
will
you.
get it to them.
All right, thank you for saying that, so they understand that.
Yes, Commissioner Madrid.
I just want to thank you guys for a great job you've been doing. Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank you,
me
Dan.
and my family.
Very organized when I was there. It was quick, it was fast, it was easy. Thank you, and thank you to the Lydex and Plateau.
Yes. Without the Lydex, we'd be outside doing this in the wind and cold, and that would be no fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, top. Oh, yes, Commissioner.
Dan, just thank you. It is, like Leo said, a well-oiled machine. And the, you know, the numbers have dropped in the people that are getting contact. Do you think the virus is, vaccinations is having an effect on that?
Honestly, Commissioner, I think it's a little too early to really say the vaccine is having an effect. I think it's just a whole trend in the United States right now that it's on that downward curve. So, you know, the vaccine is definitely going to help down the road. You know, they say the third week of this inoculation is when you start to get your immunity. So we're just now coming up on those third and fourth weeks. So I don't know if it has had enough of an impact,
So it hadn't
but I'm
had
sure
enough
it might
time,
be a little
probably.
bit, but
Yeah. Okay.
yes, I wouldn't say the whole reason is for the vaccine yet.
Yeah.
Give it a month or two.
All right. Well, good. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Well, Mr. Heerding, thank you, and I agree with everything that's been said. I think that it's actually a wonderful story of Clovis businesses and people coming together
Yes.
and doing a wonderful work. So thank you for updating us on that and sharing that with us. What I heard you say, and I think is important to stress to the public, is that if you want the vaccine, the starting place is cvvaccinenm.org.
cvvaccine.nmhealth.org. It's a long web
Okay.
address.
We'll make sure that that's on our city's Facebook page and everywhere, because that's where you start.
Yes.
If you're ready to get the vaccine, and we need folks going there to register.
Right.
In order to begin the process.
Yes.
But the other thing is that it shows the need as we advocate for more doses to come out our way.
Right.
So we need folks to go get registered, even if you think that you're in a latter phase and it's not your turn yet. The public still needs to go get registered as soon as possible.
Yep. It doesn't matter what
Yeah.
phase, as long as you're 18 or older and would like the vaccine, please register. Yes.
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Heerding. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Commissioners, while we are still in communications, I would like to just take the liberty to mention, when we met last, we did a resolution in opposition to House Bill 4 that deals with qualified immunity for public officials. In particular, that's a concern for police officers, and we just know that legislation is bad for New Mexico municipalities, and it would be bad for Clovis, and so we took a stance against that. I just wanted to mention, I checked the status on that today. That's actually before the House Judiciary Committee tomorrow. So if you're tracking that or would be interested in following that, please give that a look. Also wanted to mention bills that I think affect us. There are many, but just a couple I wanted to mention that I'm tracking, and I would encourage you to as well. I would encourage the public to track these. But House Bill 139. House Bill 139 is a bill dealing with legislative oversight of the emergency declaration that we have an example of right now. When the emergency orders are invoked in our state, the current law allows for that to just be renewed and extended without an expiration date and without bringing the legislature in for input and a check and balance on that. This bill seeks to give the legislators a greater role in an emergency, and I think it's important that we support that. Interestingly, Joint House Resolution 6 is sponsored by the same lawmakers and has the same language, but House Bill 39, if passed, it does have an emergency clause, and so it would take effect immediately, of course, if it's signed. Also, you might want to watch Senate Bill 74. Similarly, it goes about it a little differently, but again, seeks to give lawmakers a greater role in a check and balance scenario. Should the Public Health Act need to be invoked, as it has been over the last year. In the spirit of talking about bills that I think affect us, Senate Bill 49, The Senate Bill 49 is the piece of legislation that I've been talking to you about for months and months now. That would amend the LEDA statute and allow a city like ours to use economic development funds, local economic development funds to support retail, both expansion of existing and recruitment of new as economic development. And I think that that bill is important for our state, and I think that that bill is important for our city and in helping us as a commission to shore up and defend our local economy. I think that that will really be good. And that is passed its first committee and is now with the Senate Taxation, Business, and Transportation Committee. I'm not sure when it's going to come up on their schedule, but I'm watching that, and I'll let you know. Under communications, how about I mention this also? You're aware of our contract with Retail Strategies and the work that they're doing, something that I'm excited about. One of the benefits that they bring and add value to the contract and what they're offering to our community is something that's coming up next week, and it's a free webinar for businesses. So Clovis businesses need to be aware of this free webinar that, among other things, includes a step-by-step guide for setting up an online platform for your business. And I think that is of great value to any of our local businesses. And so I wanted to mention that and make sure that people are aware of that. And you can find information about that on the city's website as well as the city's Facebook page. Did we have any other public comment? Has anyone joined the meeting by phone or virtually and wish to give public comment? No one is waving at me and telling me to pause, so we will move on to the consent agenda. Commissioners, as you know, this item is placed on the agenda so that the commission, by unanimous consent, can designate those routine agenda items that they wish to approve or acknowledge with one motion. If any proposal does not meet with the approval of all commission members, or if a citizen so requests, that item will be heard when it's reached under the regular agenda. Commissioners, 5 items there. The first is the motion to place. The 5th is the motion to approve or acknowledge. I'll read items 2, 3, and 4. 2 is request for approval of change order for airport terminal TSA upgrade. Item 3 is request for approval to apply for a NM State DOT grant for airport equipment building. Number 4 is request for approval to appoint Megan Paula, Brett Johnson, and Raymond Mondragon to serve on the Economic Incentive Board. Commissioners, unless there are any questions, concerns, or comments about the consent agenda, I would entertain a motion to place the indicated items on the consent agenda by unanimous vote.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Garza, second from Commissioner Casaus. Is our voting system working, or are we using it? We're going to do a roll call, please, Ms. Reyes. Thank you.
Commissioner Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bryant?
Yes.
Commissioner Garza?
Yes.
Commissioner Rowley?
Yes.
Commissioner Levitt?
Yes.
Commissioner Madrid?
Yes.
Commissioner Casaus?
Yes.
By a vote of 7-0, the motion is carried, and the items are placed on the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve or acknowledge all items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Garza and second from Commissioner Rowley. Ms. Reyes, could we please have a roll call?
Mayor Pro Tem Bryant?
Yes.
Commissioner Garza?
Yes.
Commissioner Rowley?
Yes.
Commissioner Levitt?
Yes.
Commissioner Madrid?
Yes.
Commissioner Casaus?
Yes.
Commissioner Elliott?
Yes.
Thank you. By a vote of 7-0, the motion is carried. Next is introduction and adoption of resolutions and ordinances. 2 items there to deal with this evening. The first is request for approval of adoption of ordinance number 2142-2021, adopting a municipal gross receipts tax. And commissioners, you have in your packet some information on this item. It's here tonight for final action, having been introduced a month ago. Wanted to, well, for the public's benefit, reiterate that this is not a new tax. This is a continuance of a tax that was put in place 10 years ago. And this tax has, for the past 10 years, been dedicated to paying the Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority dues that the city owes by way of their participation in the water authority. We have the opportunity to approve this ordinance just as it is and as it has been for the last 10 years, although there is, the opportunity to look at possibly doing something different with the dedication. And I've provided you with some language that would be an alternative for you to consider. And the reason we would do that is, as you know, the water issues that we're all facing are complex and complicated. And as we seek solutions as the city and as the water authority and the other entities that are at work or on the job of trying to find the solutions to our long-term water issues, it's possible that it could be wise to create some flexibility in how this money is used. So as I thought about that, I thought it would be important to maintain a minimum balance in the fund that would give us some security that this 0.25% gross receipts would do what it was intended to do, and the primary purpose is to pay the water authority dues. And so if you look at what's being suggested, and I have had to look for it. Thank you. So, as it stands in the dedication section of the ordinance, it says that revenue from the municipal gross receipts tax will be used for the purpose of financing the City of Clovis' obligation to the Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority for the development, planning, financing, construction, and operation of the Ute Reservoir Authority, for the development of planning. Okay, we just have a repeat there. This, in the current ordinance, it's dedicated to the Ute Reservoir Pipeline Project. If we were looking to give ourselves and future commissions a little bit of flexibility about how to use this, we could add some language here to say, or other City of Clovis water projects, right? And what I was talking about there when I said the minimum balance, if you can read there, it says, provided that the cash balance of the fund does not drop below 1.5 times the estimated annual membership contributions outlined in the current Water Authority finance plan for the following 2 years. So what we would do there, if the suggestion that I'm making there, if it's your will that we make this a little more flexible in its use, it's my suggestion that we would have that minimum balance there, and you can see how we would arrive at that minimum balance. The Water Authority gives us their finance plan. They tell us what our dues are going to be for the next few years, or the best estimate. So based on that, we would take the amount required to pay our dues for the next 2 years and multiply that by 1.5, and that would establish the minimum balance for that fund. So it would be moving, right? So if the dues go up, then that minimum balance would go up. If for some reason the dues go down, if the finances of the authority change and our dues go down, that would be a moving minimum balance. So I wanted to highlight that for you as an alternative to approving it as is, which ties our hands to a degree. It dedicates the fund to use of paying the dues to the authority. Now, as perhaps the scope of work at the authority changes and they take on other projects, if that were the will of the authority, then they might simply increase our dues or something like that. Or or anything in between. So I just wanted you to consider that, and I'm happy to, I'd like to hear from you, what your thoughts are on this and what your will is.
Mayor,
Yes, Mayor Pro
I'm
Tem.
fine with the additional wordage in this. I think that's, the city of Clovis water-related projects needs to be added in there. I'm fine with that. I also want to make sure that, it would also include the acquisition of water if needed. I think that as long as it goes through the authority, then it pretty well could be used for anything. But I want to make sure that it also includes that as well.
Under
And
City of Clovis projects.
Yeah, it wouldn't have to be changed at all. I mean,
Okay,
you know,
okay.
that's fine. I think under the operation of the reservoir, I think that pretty well includes that as already.
Along, Mr. Mayor, along those lines, I think if we can just add a little bit of a little change there to add domestic water supply projects, because that's what we're looking for,
Okay,
domestic water supply
domestic
projects.
water supply projects.
This came from Mr. Lansford, our chairman. One of the things that we, Mayor Pro Tem Brian and myself have is we're wearing two hats. One is we represent the constituency in Clovis. So we have to look at all the resources that we have available to us and make sure that the monies to work with anything are there. So we're not just going to be giving the money away for whatever project comes up. All of us, we're going to vote on it. So it's not going to be like whatever project came up, well, okay, let's do it. It's not going to happen that way. So we are going to be protected in that way. On the other side of that, as a Water Utility Authority member, I have to look at all the resources available to us to be able to provide water for our communities. So it is a little touchy deal for us since we are part of that. But again, I think if we had domestic water supply projects, provided that the cash balance of the fund does not drop below the 1.5 times the amount available.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that as well, Mayor.
I think that's a good suggestion, and Commissioner Garza, you made an important point, and that is that those other City of Clovis projects would be approved on a project basis.
Right.
By this or future commissions.
And we have our city manager to see of that, make sure that whatever comes to us is looked at before it comes to us, and make sure that we can move on the project. So,
Mr. Howald, did you have something to add?
Well, thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, and I appreciate you guys considering the reserve of a cash balance within this fund. As I look at our future obligations to the Water Utility Authority, and based off their finance plan and what those dues are going to be in the future, they'll actually be higher than what our gross receipts tax revenue comes into it. And so that cash balance is very important to keep in place, because someday we're not going to be generating enough revenue based off the current financial plan to be able to pay our membership contributions. So we will start drawing down on that cash balance, and we want to make sure that it is in place for us to do that in those future years. The other things that we've been able to do with the cash balance that is currently in place, and if you all recall, this commission approved advancing our membership contributions to the Water Utility Authority when Finished Water 2 was bid. And as part of Finished Water 2, they had several different bid alternatives in there. But at that time, the Water Utility Authority did not have the ability to award those because they did not have enough cash in bank through their own finances. So what the City of Clovis did was we advanced our membership contribution of future years to the authority so that they could award that entire project and get it constructed from Cannon Air Force Base all the way down to MLK and Brady to, of course, Finished Water tanks there. And then the other thing that we want to keep in mind also is that the Water Utility Authority is doing a fantastic job of receiving federal funds. And so they've really started to flow into the project. and they've been able to advance the construction of it, and they continue to foresee those federal funds coming in. Well, along with those federal funds is its match requirements. And so, you know, we definitely don't want to be in a position of having to say, sorry, feds, we're not able to accept your funds because we don't have the match available to us. So that's something else we want to make sure that we're keeping a healthy cash balance within that particular fund as well. And so I think that the language as proposed does keep that in mind and still give this commission the flexibility to, if something comes available, that they would be able to also have those funds available for domestic water supply. And then to Mayor Pro Tem's point regarding if the authority expanded its scope of work and needed itself to go out to find a domestic water supply, those would fall underneath operational costs. And so in the current language and in the past language, one of the qualified funds was operations of the reservoir pipeline project. And so I envision that as an operational expense that they would have within there, and so that they would be able to do that, and these funds would be available for them to go do that as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Howalt. So let me ask you this, Mr. Howalt. Commissioner Garza's suggestion to add the word domestic water projects,
Water supply projects.
water supply projects. How do you feel about that?
I mean, when you start thinking about water-related projects, water-related from the city of Clovis aspect could be domestic water. It could be reuse water, and those are the two things that immediately come to mind for the city of Clovis. As you recall, the city of Clovis in the past has actually drilled wells to lease to EPCOR. And so theoretically, this particular fund would have been available to do something similar to that. So I think or other city of Clovis domestic water supply related projects limits the scope to only potable water.
And that was what I was thinking. Does that limit us? And should we think about that for a moment? If for example, we were working on reuse projects and that water was, you know.
Well, the idea behind that domestic water supply is, let's say that we were to purchase somebody's water rights, and they need to be, the water is contaminated, and the city needs to bring it to drinking capabilities. So isn't that domestic water? I mean,
I can't think of a perfect example right now, but just, you know, with what we do with reuse water right now, we're bringing it to town and using it to water parks and eventually the golf course and so forth. Would call that domestic water?
No.
So
Water,
we would be tightening the scope of this to not use it for reuse projects.
And currently, for everybody's information, Mayor Pro Tem, I mean, our reuse water and the matches that we put towards the reuse system itself actually come out of our wastewater fund.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Mayor,
Yeah.
and just considering what Commissioner Garza is saying, I mean, so if we needed to drill a well to lease to EPCOR, and we did add domestic water, is it going to be an issue knowing that EPCOR sells water to commercial businesses as well? And how would that be divided up? And would that be something that we would need to consider if we added domestic only?
I mean, I think it's a great question you raise, and I'm with you on that. I'm concerned about limiting ourselves. We're trying to create some flexibility for something down the road that maybe we aren't aware of now that we would need to use this money for, providing it had the minimum balance in it or in the fund. And I worry about locking ourselves into something there and not being able to use it. In the example that you just used, that was a good example.
I don't think we'd be tied up to anything when the operation is there. I mean, you have financing, construction, and operation of the reservoir pipeline, and for the City of Clovis domestic water supply projects. I don't,
Right,
I
but that
don't,
would be on the authority side, right?
Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners, and
Yes.
to interject, the word domestic to me means for human consumption. So whether it's through commercial uses or through residential uses, I just more see it as domestic supply versus I'm going to use it for agricultural purposes.
And if we can get there and not tie us up 8 years down the road, I completely agree with Commissioner Garza that this is for drinking water for our residents and to be able to have that quality of life that's vital to the vitality of Clovis. And again, I would be opposed to trying to have water and being sold for commercial use. I would also think that even at that time down the road, a commission would be able to vote on if water was going to be used for or sold to a commercial use type situation, and that could be, either voted yay or nay by that commission. But as long as the domestic is saying that it's for use in a business or residential, but for, consumption, then I would be okay with that. I just don't want to make, for the legalities and maybe with our city attorney, I don't know if there'd be something that would tie the hands by adding the word domestic.
Mayor, may I interject?
Yes, you may, Mr. Morris. Thank you.
So the Black's Law Dictionary definition of domestic water use is domestic water is water used for indoor and outdoor household purposes. Essentially all the things you do at home, drinking water, preparing food, bathing, washing clothes, and then the outdoor purposes, of course, landscaping, watering your lawn, etc. So unless we defined it otherwise in the ordinance, that would probably be the definition used.
And I concur. I mean, typically, when you have a domestic water supply system, and so we would consider EPCOR's system as a domestic water supply system. So once it goes into their system, yes, does it go to commercial? Yes. Does it go to industrial? Can it go to residential use? Yes. And in regards to what we're thinking about this evening and trying to keep flexibility within it, so you may want to consider, does this, say, in domestic water supply, get away from the flexibility that this commission may be trying to consider with the proposed language? And that's just something for you to consider.
I think everybody's getting a headache here from thinking that, so that's quite all right. But I think the whole purpose of the Water Utility Authority is to provide domestic water. It's not for industrial water supply.
Or fluent.
Agreed, Commissioner, but we're talking about using water, or we're talking about using this fund for other City of Clovis water projects. So we're protecting the portion of the fund that we would use to pay the dues to the authority, and the authority do with that what they would in carrying out the work that they do in their operations. So we're talking about using a portion of this for other City of Clovis projects. Just to clarify, point of clarification there.
I think the 40% can be utilized later on if it's necessary for that purpose, domestic water supplies. I mean, we have to give the money to the Water Utility Authority for one purpose. But on the other hand, if we have the ability to find water somewhere else and the cities wants to participate, then that fund can be utilized for that purpose. That's correct. That's pretty much what it's saying. There's flexibility on that comment. And for the City of Clovis domestic water supply projects. So if something comes up, then you have the ability to do that as long as we don't touch the other fund. or exceed the fund.
Okay. Okay.
I can agree with this. I think it, like Commissioner Garza says, I think it gives us the flexibility to do some things that we could not do otherwise. Regardless, it's going to have to go through either this commission or a future commission for that decision to be made.
Okay.
I mean, if something comes up.
Yep.
So.
And Mayor, if I.
Yes, please,
if I can
Commissioner,
continue
please.
the discussion. I think certainly the purpose of the Water Authority, the purpose of this fund is to provide, potable water for the citizens of Clovis. Again, my concern is once this ordinance is passed, it's there for 10 years. I'm not sure that I have the vision of what needs this fund may be needed for the full 10 years. And part of the vitality of Clovis is also our business economic development. And although I cannot foresee where we would use any of these funds for, water for economic development, I don't know that. I don't know what possible need that there could be, and for the benefit to Clovis, for these funds to be used for some purpose other than what we're going to clarify as domestic as being household use. And I'm just hesitant to add the word domestic when this commission and commissioners following us can protect the use of this fund and how it's used, and to make sure that it is for the benefit of domestic use, but without saying it in this ordinance. And I'm hesitant to tie the hands of future commissioners by adding that word.
Appreciate the comments, Commissioner Levitt. I tend to agree with what you've had to say. Any other comments? I look at this as, should you want to approve this, take the final action on this, including this language that would give us more flexibility in just plain terms, we're saying we're going to continue to use this for paying our water utility authority dues. But if there's this minimum balance in here, then we could use funds over that minimum balance from this fund for other City of Clovis water-related projects. I think if we add something to that, we could possibly be tying the hands of a future commission on the use of this, and future commissions are going to make a decision to approve or not the use of these funds for other City of Clovis water projects. So possibly arguing over something that is so minor that it doesn't matter, we still would be giving ourselves that flexibility. I know for me, a deal breaker would be the minimum balance. We have to have that in there. We have to be responsible and have that in there so that the authority dues can be paid. The word domestic perhaps is, not inconsequential, perhaps. So what would you like to do? What is the will?
And Mayor, before we get to just to make a point I think some wording needs to be changed, or at least the acronym, before we pass an ordinance, is when you read Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority for the development, and then it goes on to the operation of the Ute Reservoir Authority, the in parentheses, the acronym ENMWUA needs to actually follow the Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority at that point.
Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, it got copied in there twice.
Okay.
So, we'll definitely get that language cleaned up for whatever's executed.
Okay.
And so, the sentence just got copied in there
Okay,
twice,
just
it looks like.
Thank you.
And one other thing that I'd like to mention is that minimum cash balance can be used for authority purposes. And so it doesn't have to stay in there in any form as long as it's being used for authority purposes.
Right. Thank you for pointing that out, Mr. Howalt. that is an important piece. The way this is written, that minimum balance comes into play when you're talking about other City of Clovis water-related projects. To be clear, in a worst-case scenario, gross receipts could go down, authority dues could go up, and the fund could be exhausted paying authority dues. But in that scenario, it would not have been used for any other projects. The primary use is paying the authority dues.
And that's how we sold it to the taxpayers when we introduced this ordinance, so,
Correct. Correct.
okay.
Any more discussion, or would someone like to formulate a motion?
I'd make a motion that we approve this ordinance based on the added language that's been presented to us as is.
Second that.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Lovett and a second from Commissioner Madrid. Could we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Garza,
Yes.
Commissioner Rowley,
Yes.
Commissioner Levitt,
Yes.
Commissioner Madrid,
Yes.
Commissioner Casals, Commissioner Elliott,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bryant.
Yes.
And Commissioner Lovett, will that include domestic?
No,
I
that
was
did not
saying
include.
As is written.
By a vote of 7-0, the motion is carried. Thank you. Next is item 2 under this section, and it is request for approval of adoption of ordinance number 2143-2021 relating to the Economic Incentive Board and amending existing code sections. Commissioners, you remember a month ago, our first meeting in January, we introduced this, and it is here tonight for final approval. In your packet, you have the amended sections, and very simply, if I can summarize it, we now would have 9 positions on the Economic Incentive Board. We removed the position that the city manager holds and moved the city manager to an ex officio advisory position. We also removed the position that CIDC appoints or recommends. Let me get to that section and we'll look it over. If you'll look with me there on page 24 in your packet, membership, this change, this ordinance is all about, or this amending, this section is all about the makeup of the Economic Incentive Board. The membership would be made up as follows. 2 representatives from the banking, finance, accounting professions, 1 from utility service providers, 1 from industry, and 4 members at large nominated by you from the individual commission districts. And lastly, the page is all out of order here. We have 1 member that is a resident of Curry County, but not that doesn't live inside the city. And then further, this changed the ex officio positions to include the city manager. It also, the ex officio positions also include the president of the college, the director, executive director of the chamber, and the executive director of CIDC. Any questions or thoughts on that?
I'll move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion to approve from Commissioner Garza,
Second.
second from Commissioner Madrid. If we could please have a roll call.
Commissioner Rowley,
Yes.
Commissioner Levitt,
Yes.
Commissioner Madrid,
Yes.
Commissioner Casals,
Yes.
Commissioner Elliott,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bryant,
Yes.
Commissioner Garza.
Yes.
Mr. Howald, you're signaling?
No, I was just gonna, I was gonna point out, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, we do have an EIB board meeting tomorrow, and so this ordinance doesn't technically go into effect until 5 days later. And
Okay.
so I will still chair that board meeting, and then once this becomes effective, we'll have another board meeting to establish chair, vice chair, et cetera, of the board. So just wanted to have a point of clarification and for your information while, when we have that board meeting and people question why I'm still the chair.
Probably good that you pointed that out. Thank you. And that was a unanimous vote, 7-0 in favor, and that motion is carried. We have nothing under unfinished business. Tonight we have 2 items under new business. The first is request for approval of Clovis Municipal Airport name change. And I believe we have the airport director, Mr. James Harris, that has joined our meeting this evening. Mr. Harris, thank you for being with us, and we'll give you the floor to talk about this item.
Okay, can you all hear me?
Oh, yeah.
We can, yes, sir.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just wanted to make sure. Okay, the airport serves the city of Clovis and the surrounding communities with essential passenger service. The airport is the only airport providing commercial passenger service within 100 miles of the city, and it supports communities of both eastern New Mexico and West Texas by connecting those communities with other regional and national markets. By definition, the airport is a regional airport. To change the name from Clovis Municipal Airport to Clovis Regional Airport would expand upon the growth and potential of not just the airport, but also the city of Clovis. The name change can be used as a marketing strategy that can boast the airport's popularity in the area, make it more appeasing to potential aviation businesses looking for new hubs of activity, and make the airport stand out more to travelers who take the 2-hour drive to other airports for flights outside of the area. With Denver Air Connection starting flights with the new 50-passenger seat Embraer 145 regional jet on Monday, changing the name of the airport now would show the surrounding communities in the rest of the country that Clovis means business when it comes to aviation. As a regional airport, Clovis will invite more businesses and air travelers to the city and make it easier to market the airport to potential cargo operators who will see Clovis as not just another local airport, but a springboard to other business opportunities in and around the city of Clovis.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Mr. Harris, how long have you been with the city now?
What is it? 3 months, 4 months?
Right?
Almost 4 months.
Okay, very good. Well, I can tell that you mean business about the Clovis Airport because we've had no shortage of items in our consent agenda, and then you bringing this to us this evening. I, for one, am very excited about it. I think it's a great move. I think it's a great opportunity to market our airport, and with the other things that we have, going on with our airport, I think it makes sense. I'm excited about it, and so I'm glad that you've brought it to us. Commissioners, any questions or comments?
Mr. Harris, does that mean that we'll have a flight to Dallas?
Mr. Harris, I'm not sure if Commissioner Casaus's mic is working, but the question was, does that mean that we will have a flight to Dallas? And then she did laugh a little bit after making that.
Because I know the answer.
We are actually working on that. We have a meeting in 2 weeks to discuss.
Awesome.
Great news.
My daughter lives there.
Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, I would put asterisk next to that, saying we're working on it. It's our current EAS contract does require our carrier, and what they submitted to the US DOT for approval was a flight between Clovis and Denver. So it's just something that we're examining to see if we can change. No promises, but it's just something that we're looking at.
Great.
Mayor,
Great point. Thank you for that, Mr. Howalt. Great point to make there. We don't want to start rumors, but the city is aware that folks would appreciate a flight to Dallas, and that is something that we are going to continue to look into. In the meantime, the flight to Denver is fantastic. I mean, if you think about having air service from right here in our backyard to an international airport, it's a pretty good deal. So, but we understand the need or the desire to have the Dallas flight, so we'll always look for that option somehow, but no promises, as Mr. Howalt said. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Harris, was this discussed with the Civil Aviation Board?
Yes, sir. It was approved on Tuesday by the Aviation Board.
Was unanimous?
Unanimous, yes, sir.
Okay, good, thank you.
Mayor?
Yes, Commissioner
I'd like to
Madrid.
make a motion to go ahead for the name change.
Okay, we have a motion to
Second.
approve from Commissioner Madrid and a second from Commissioner Garza. If we can have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Levitt,
Yes.
Commissioner Madrid,
Yes.
Commissioner Casals,
Yes.
Commissioner Elliott,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bryant,
Yes.
Commissioner Garza,
Yes.
Commissioner Rowley.
Yes.
And it's unanimous by a vote of 7-0. The motion is carried. Mr. Harris, thank you. Appreciate you joining the meeting this evening and presenting that to us, and thanks for all you're doing at the airport.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners.
Next, under new business, we have a request for approval to use ITB 20-1204-07 for a grazing lease on city-owned property. And we have Mr. Brian Jones, who's joined the meeting this evening. Good to see you, Mr. Jones, and we'll give you the floor to tell us about this.
Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners, actually, I was thinking about adding a few more numbers and dashes to those numbers for you. I enjoyed listening to you read them immensely. Normally, I come to you asking for permission to spend money, but tonight I'm actually asking for permission to possibly bring some money into the city. We have had interest shown in the property west of the Air Force Base, and there's pretty good grass out there. And we have had people asking for permission to graze it. So to do that fairly and with the public, I'd like to issue this ITB and let everybody bid on it. And having said that, I would stand for any questions.
Appreciate that. We may have some questions. Commissioners?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
You did a really good job, Mr. Jones. We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Casals and a second from Commissioner Garza. Ms. Reyes, could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Madrid,
Yes.
Commissioner Casals,
Yes.
Commissioner Elliott,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bryant,
Yes.
Commissioner Garza,
Yes.
Commissioner Rowley,
Yes.
and Commissioner Levitt.
Yes.
And it's unanimous by a vote of
Thank you.
7-0. The motion is carried. Mr. Jones, thank you very much for joining this evening, and we appreciate what you do. All right. Next, we have reports of boards, officers, and committees. Commissioners, do any of you have reports from board or committee service? It's only like 6:35, guys. If you wanted to talk, you could.
You don't want to go home and do the dishes, huh?
And then next, do we have future agenda items to mention, Mr. Howalt?
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners. I do have some. We're going to have a report at the next meeting from PRMC. We have a couple of boards that have vacancies, so we'll be bringing to you candidates for the Lodgers Tax Board as well as the Water Policy Advisory Board. Our Building Safety Department's been busy, and they're going to be bringing forth to you 4 demolition requests. And then Allsups, as you all know, sold, so they're working on the change of their ownership for their liquor license. And while I have you, I'm going to reiterate what Mr. Harris said, what's happening on Monday. And so on Monday the 8th, we're proud that we're going to have our first 50-seat regional jet flying into our airport. It's something that this community has been working on for a long time, and so it's exciting for our community to have this opportunity. working with Denver Air and for them to be providing the first official 50-seat regional jet service in and out of Clovis Regional Airport. So thank you, Mayor.
You bet. Appreciate you sharing that and reiterating that. That is exciting. We're glad to see that. I'm sure we'll have pictures and coverage of that.
They're planning on doing the
Okay.
whole thing with the fire department and
Okay.
driving under the water. I mean, they're excited about it. Okay.
Good. Glad to hear it. Commissioners, a future agenda item that I think we're all aware of, at our next meeting, we will deal with the District 4 vacancy. As you know, that we are currently taking applications for that position, and the applications will be closed on February 10th, next Wednesday.
Mayor, we had a miscommunication, and so we had one that went out that said the 10th, and unfortunately had one that went out that said the 12th.
Okay.
And so we're gonna, since there was that out there, we're gonna honor it to the 12th, which.
So we could have applications come in through close of business on Friday the 12th, but by then you will all have the opportunity to have copies of those applications to review them and consider those applicants. And then at our next commission meeting, we will invite those applicants in person to address us, and we will take action, or you will take action and appoint the new commissioner for District 4. All right, announcement of date, time, and place of city board and commission meetings. As far as we know, are these still on? We have a planning and zoning commission meeting at 3 p.m. on Wednesday, February 10th, to be held here in the North Annex. City Hall will be closed on President's Day, February 15th, and the next city commission meeting will be at 5:15 on Thursday, February 18th, here in the North Annex. Commissioners, thank you. Have a nice evening. We are adjourned.
Awesome.
There you go.